Another episode cast. I'm your host as always, and with me today I have three lovely guests if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
I'm Kobe.
I'm Mark, here to monetize the video in the first 8 seconds.
And I'm Dylan.
All right. And so we are gathered here today to wrap up a trio of special episodes, I'd say, that are doing a retrospective on 2022, with this week, our finale being our music of the year. We've all brought at least 3 albums to discuss today that really stood out, that came out last year. And yeah, we're just gonna air our thoughts on some of them. I guess I'll start with my third favorite album of the year, which is Matt Watson's See You There. And this actually coincides with a dishonorable mention from Kobe, which was Joji's new album, Smithereens. In the sense that they are both in the genre of sad boy YouTubers with music hustles on the side. Matt Watson being from a YouTube group called Super Mega, and Joji of Filthy Frank, former fame. I think I will say off the bat, I don't know exactly what were your thoughts, Kobe, on why specifically Smithereens was disappointing, but at least for me, I enjoyed what was in it, but it was too short, and it just was lacking in substance.
That's essentially my opinion as well. Is Nectar, the last 3 of his studio albums before Smithereens, I think were at least 30 minutes plus, especially Nectar. Nectar was a very long album, and to wait another full 2 years to kind of finish, I'm going to say, this trilogy in a sense of this really toxic relationship stuff that he's been going for. Smithereens feels like the anticlimactic conclusion to what he's been trying to do. However, I do think his vocals, I think his beats are getting much better in this album. He is definitely starting to kind of perfect on the style that he is going for. But there was just nothing there. It's essentially a 20-minute mixtape.
Yeah.
I mean, he put forward.
Yeah, and again, like standouts, Glimpse of Us was obviously an amazing single to drop early on, but like that was probably the biggest song in the album. Like it might actually be the longest one. I don't have it up to check right now, but
it is.
Yeah.
It is
so
the longest song in the album at 3:53.
Yeah, so obviously you don't need to, not every song needs like a time limit to become good or whatever, but it just, like, everything else felt, there wasn't much going on there. And so I just really enjoyed what Matt Watson put out. I heard first his, one of his singles, Star Stud, which is the opener on the album. And that one ended up on my list of top 10 finds of the year. And it just, because, I don't know, it's just another kind of in that same vein of, like, sad boy bops, but it has more of a, what am I trying to think of? Like, not J-pop, but, like, some more bounciness to it. I'm trying to think of the word. There's some way descriptor for it that I'm not.
You saying funk?
No,
you think
not
like a funk.
It's not a funk. I don't
What
think.
What kind of bop? What are you thinking? Like funk?
Like,
groove?
oh, is it bubblegum pop? I think that's maybe a term out there or something like that. Matt Watson's new album. I can't think of it. But it's still in the same general vein of like lo-fi, kind of. Maybe it has like some Kai Dream stuff, I guess, in there. But it generally, the whole album kind of follows this facade of like uptune beats with like just kind of sadder vocals tied to it.
Male manipulator music.
Yeah, yes, that is a good term for it. Male manipulator music. I think another standout, I think, was honestly like the whole opening section from Work It Out, Okay Then, Choral, and Wacky kind of go hard. And the rest of them are just like a vibe. I don't know. Was really into it for the whole way through. And I guess the other honorable mention that I'll throw in to complete a trifecta of these sad boy YouTubers is Jakey put out a new album this year. I think it kind of had a similar thing with Joji where it felt a little bit short in the grand scheme of things, but still a lot of fun, I think, at the end of the day. So yeah, See You There by Matt Watson was my number 3 pick. Kobe, what was your number 3 pick?
Yeah, so my number 3 pick was 12 Karat Toothache by Post Malone. This is his 4th studio album that he has released. I think this is a very different album for Post Malone. It definitely doesn't feel like the kind of tracks he has produced with the last 3 albums. He kind of took a different stylistic route with this one, and to be honest, the first run through of this album, I wasn't a huge fan of it, and I've been a pretty huge fan of Post Malone, but there was just something weird about the vocals, the lyrics that he was presenting, and it kind of felt like there was a lot of tone shifts all over the place, and it didn't feel like a coherent album. But as I've listened to it more, I have definitely grown to like this album a lot, to obviously get into my 3rd pick of the year. I don't think it's his strongest album, but I think it is definitely up there in quality the more you listen to it. And there's honestly some really banger tracks that come out of that album, especially the I Like You with Doja Cat. That one is just one of his best songs that he has produced, in my personal opinion. And he also gets into some of the sadder songs, especially the one about like his alcohol abuse, that I think definitely lends well to the album. But then he starts just throwing country music in there at some point. So I don't know. It's definitely a mixed bag, and I have a feeling that Post next album is going to go full country, but we'll see about that.
That'd be wild.
I think this album, like that album, the 12 Karat Toothache, is his worst album out of all of his 4 albums.
I would
Like,
agree.
I would put Stony above it, Beer Bongs and Bentleys above it, Hollywood's Bleeding above it. But still, like, it's a fun album. Like, I love hearing from Post Malone every once in a while. It came out around the summertime. We were in Seattle. We had the car windows open while we are driving. It's a fun album.
Vibe.
I think that probably he has a lot of a lot more. I don't know. It's just a lot better. I feel like the other albums have been, but I'm excited to hear more from Post as
Yeah.
we go
He
on.
has potential. Like, we've seen it with Hollywood's Bleeding. Like, that is definitely my favorite album from his. Like I said, this was definitely a step down for me in terms of Post.
Yeah.
And I would, Alexa, stop.
Alexa.
We're just gonna start triggering people's. We're gonna start like triggering people's little devices. I'm gonna try to stay away from saying the word.
All the people listening on their surround sound speakers at home.
Yeah, it was a step down. It's definitely not his best. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. He did say this was a very personal album for him, and you can kind of see that throughout the songs and the lyrics that he's presenting. But I don't know. I think
I'm glad he likes it.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm glad he likes it.
I think for some of the themes he is presenting and some of the songs, the beat does not match. It's like he's talking about something very depressing, and it's this upbeat music. And it's like, I think, and honestly, I want to know what happened here. It kind of felt like the best way that I put this album is he was chasing the radio hit again with every other album that he has had. Like, he has had the big radio hit, I call it, that came out of every one of his albums. And I felt like he was just trying to capture that magic with each of his songs, and it just didn't fully land.
Yeah, I mean, I only remember listening to it when it came out. I think the one song that is coming to my mind is Euthanasia. And that one I thought actually had a pretty, like, good intro and outro with the beats bleeding into the, like, heartbeat monitor or whatever it was that he was, like, working in with it. But it just felt from my recollection that it was just kind of he was slowing his roll for like compared to his other albums, just taking it way slower with like the production and the flow, for better and for worse, I guess. And I don't, yeah, other than Euthanasia, which I would not consider like a banger or whatever, like I can't remember any of the other songs from it, so
Yeah, that Doja Cat song bangs.
The Doja Cat
And
song
Cooped
is
Up,
fantastic.
Cooped Up's
yeah.
pretty good too.
Okay. I'll think
There's a couple of songs on there that deserve respect at least.
Yeah, well, it's number 3. It's made it into the top 3. It's got something going for it.
Dylan, did you hear that?
Hear what?
Did you get to listen to that the album now?
No. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really a Post Malone guy. It wasn't really anywhere on my list to listen to.
That's fair.
And I like. So like me talking about it, I don't really have the perspective to talk a lot about Post Malone other than his radio bangers. Like I could listen to it, but I don't think it would give me a lot of perspective, the same perspective that you guys would have.
Yeah.
In general, it's just kind of random music is not what I'm looking for a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, while we're on your end of the spectrum though, what was your? I know you haven't necessarily figured out where your 3 are, but what is one of your picks of the year?
Man, it's super hard to figure out my 3rd place album. I definitely have. If you're interested, though, I absolutely know what my most disappointing album of the year is.
Sure, give it a shout out.
My most disappointing EP of the year probably goes to Wood Tip by Zach Fox.
Ooh.
Because he posted his thing on Twitter, his little promo, and he was like, I've made some hairy pussy music, and I went and I was like, damn, maybe you did. Let me go hear this shit out. I kinda like it. And then I got like after the first song, it just was really boring. It was
did not meet the certified hairy pussy criteria. Like
I agree.
I mean, the first song on that EP is good. Trifling is good, and it's the one he used in this promo, which is the bait. But he's in the entire EP, he goes for that kind of like falsetto soul voice, I think that you want to call it, from like it's kind of reminiscent of like 80s, like kind of like 80s soul music. But he just like can't quite hit it, and the rest of the track is like, I don't know, the backing's just like not strong enough, I think. Okay. It's like something I absolutely want and kind of wanted him to make, but I just kind of wish it was a little better.
Just wish the delivery was better executed.
And like the thing that the real reason that I think I want to bring that up is because like, I don't know, especially he also dropped it was like the year before, right? He dropped "Shut the Fuck Up Talking to Me."
Yep.
Because like me and Mark have been talking. It's like, damn, when will Zach Fox drop like a real album? And I also think that it was a bit of a disappointing album. But I don't know. I still want him to put out more music. I'm still ready for him to put out
a true banger. He's got the talent.
Shut the Fuck Up Talking to Me is a great album, though. I'm okay. I'm happy with for him. That's a great album.
I suppose. I just like. I mean, like it's Zach Fox. He's literally a comedian, but like I kind of want an album where I'm not putting all the songs I like into the goofy playlist I have.
Oh man. I mean, listen, that's still a vibe at the end of the day. And sometimes you're just looking for the funny vibe. But all right. So what? Just if you had to pick one, just to talk about right now, I will say probably save Morales for the end, because that's also somebody else's number 1 pick. So we'll probably just
I think I'm okay with that being my number 1.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, we'll save that for the end.
Wow.
Did you call it Morales? Miles
no,
Morales and the Big Steppers?
Mr. Morales. Mr. Morales.
Spider-Man. Welcome to Spider-Man.
Morales.
It's morale.
Like, no, okay. Mr. Morales.
Lack of morale. Mr. Morales.
All right, what is one of the other picks?
I think I'm gonna say No Rules Sandy for 3rd, which is an album by Sylvan Esso. And it's partially just a chance to plug Sylvan Esso for people whoever might be fucking listening, because Sylvan Esso has. I think like I'm a certified like Brockhampton stan, right? Like that's probably my consistent like top artist shit every single fucking year, no matter what, re-listening or not. But trying to figure out another it's this was a year where we had to kind of disassociate ourselves from certain artists. One big artist, and it was like what other artists do I
Wait, who?
maybe really? I don't know, Mark.
What? Who?
What are you
I
talking
don't
about?
know.
Fucking Weekend put out this
I don't
their
know.
biggest banger to date. Like, come
Yeah.
on.
I forgot I was talking to a Weekend guy. Totally not totally not a Yitler guy.
Who? Oh, is that one of the kids that saw ghosts? I don't listen to that guy at all.
Yeah.
I don't know that guy.
He's the weird other half of kids saw ghosts. He's that weird. He's a secret Bowser Jr. kid.
Don't come into my room and look at my records. Don't do that. But like otherwise, or also don't look at my Spotify rap for last year and the year before that and the year before that.
Don't look at Murky's either. Like let's
There were L's all around this year.
God damn it.
And for like artists that I like really have loved and like put my shit behind, it's like Brockhampton, the people we won't talk about anymore. Maybe like I could say Kendrick, but like that's also one of the most basic ass things to say in your entire life. I feel like
He's good.
so like,
Yeah,
who's a political figure you love following? It's like, oh, the president of the United States. It's like, it's like, oh, it's like, of course, yeah, I follow the fucking president of my own country. It's like, of course, I'm gonna be constantly listening to Kendrick, but like. Sylvan Esso, I really just want to give that shout out to just being what a fantastic artist that I've been listening to for like years and years now, and I still love it. It's very popular. The best way to describe this album and kind of the majority of their albums is they go on like the electro indie pop deal, but they're also like still like folksy all the way to their core. Like they're the lead singer, she's like primarily from like she was initially part of just like a indie folk like band, and she like carries that shit perfectly into indie and electro pop. It is so the songs they make, especially like the dance music, is so fucking addicting. I swear to God, and it's got a unique, this like incredible quality. It's in like the folk aesthetic of her voice, and just like this kind of minimalist production they sometimes go for is it sticks in your head, and every single one of their albums, especially their more recent ones, their vibes are like it's the least patronizing form, I think, of making albums that are like all about fucking like love and like loving life and like being happy. It is like so there I love this artist so much, and this album was another like perfect like entry into that. I think the Sunburn off that album was probably my song of the summer, and it's like easy top choice for like summer songs that I've like heard in my life. It's so good.
I've never heard a more convincing argument to make me want to listen to an artist.
I love a good genre fusion, so that it sounds like right up my alley as well.
Is this two people?
Yeah, so 2 people. I think they're a couple. I'm pretty sure they're a couple.
I'm looking at the picture of them, and it looks like Maximilian Dude with somebody else. I don't.
He cuts his hair. He cut his hair, I think.
Okay,
but
because that's exactly who he looks like, though.
Yeah, no, Amelia Meath, her voice and her energy on these albums. Also, their music videos are fucking, they're eclectic. Yeah. They're just good. I love them.
Good music.
So shout out Sylvan Esso for. I don't know. That's my artist plug.
Yeah, she was on We Love Dogs with Remy Wolf.
I don't think I heard that one.
I have this to me, but
I love Remy Wolf. She's great. I saw her in concert open for Lorde, and she was really good. Like she was crazy electric, and then we had to listen to a Lorde album after, and that was that was an interesting conversation.
It was not your choice to go to the Lorde show.
Listen, I do like that Oh, what was that album called? Solar Power. I do like Solar Power. It's a nice album. It's fun.
Mhm.
But it was just crazy going from like Remy Wolf like just making the entire crowd of gay women go crazy, and then listening to Lord and like hearing people get really sad immediately after. Um,
Two different contrasting vibes back to back.
it's for the same group of people, just with very different vibes.
Yeah, yeah.
But it
You
was
got
fun.
the
I had a lot of fun.
yeah. What was your number 3 album, Mark?
Um, yeah. So my number 3 album was "It's Almost Dry" by Pusha T.
Yeah.
This album, oh, is almost fantastic. I listened to it so I don't have the numbers on how many times I've listened to this album, but it was everything I listen to. I think so this album it's split into 2 parts production. Um are we still doing the he who shall not be named like
What?
Voldemort
No,
shit for Kanye
we
or
got
Yeah,
fucking. It's
just no,
fine.
no.
It's whatever.
It was a bit. But
It was
like,
just a little bit.
there's-
You can
we can.
we can discuss it.
I
Yeah.
I gotta make sure. This is your podcast. I can't be saying
We're not
Kobe
gonna
out-
get
I mean,
TOS
Kanye
by
out there.
mentioning
But
the
why is
man's that.
like Voldemort now.
But no, like Kanye produced half the album and Pharrell produced half the album. He actually released on Spotify like like an album of tracks that were just produced by Pharrell and just produced by Kanye. And both of them are just fantastic. This is probably the last we'll ever see of Kanye doing that kind of great production that he's
I think this is the
that
last
he's
we're
known
gonna see
for.
of Kanye in music for a long while in any serious sense.
He released a song on Instagram.
Okay, like I said, Kobe, I think it's the last we're gonna see of Kanye doing anything serious in music.
I
Well,
mean,
that was
I
the
mean,
most
Donda
serious
2
song. What are you
will
talking about?
Donda 2 will happen at some point. But
It will happen.
it will happen.
Okay.
Finish Donda 2 when it gets the
Somebody
DLC,
will
the
finish
DLC
Donda 2.
packs.
It might not be Kanye, but somebody will finish Donda 2. It might be
Are
Toasty.
Are you still
Toasty
holding
Digital
out for
might.
Toasty Digital? Fucking.
To-
Oh my god.
Toasty Digital might do it. I believe in you. Toasty, if you listen to this, hello. I love you and I'm subscribed to your Patreon. Anyways, It's Always Dry is just great. It's got all the people you would expect. You get to hear Kanye, you get to hear Kid Cudi, with some interesting like you get to hear Malice, hear from No Malice again. With some new interesting I don't think that I would hear Pusha T and Lil Uzi Vert on a track together, but like Scrape It Off is fantastic, and Don Toliver I think adds to it really well. And Pusha T does his coke rap, and he does his coke rap well. And so anytime Pusha T puts out an album, it will always be on somewhere in my top at least 10 albums of the year. But this album's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it was you or Dylan that pointed it out to me when it came out, and I was like, yeah, this was pre Kanye incident, but like after being addicted to all of his albums last year, like you were like, oh yeah, you got to check out this Pusha shit. I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is like more top tier shit coming out here. I think it's the other
a tight 35. A tight 35. That's all you need. You need a tight 35 and some coke. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, it wasn't me because this is one of the big albums that I regret not finding time to listen to. I
Mm.
would like,
hell?
oh my, it's like no, I love Push so much. I would have been all over this album, but like I had a messy year, and like this last few days when I was trying to like do as many albums as I can, leading in, I just got like traveling nightmare, absolute nightmare. Everything's
Oh yeah.
messed up. But
Everything's
yeah,
so
no.
fucking
Oh my,
fucked up.
that sounds like that's exactly. I mean, that's a push standard. Yeah, I want a tight 35 with plenty of fucking coke music. That is
Yeah.
that is push to a T, and that's push to a T.
Shut
There
the
we go.
fuck up.
There
I
we fucking
hate
go.
you. God damn
Oh
it.
man. Kobe, do you have any thoughts on Until It's Dry before we move
Yeah,
on?
it was a great It was a great album. Like, not too much more to say. I think the features were great. I think The cocaine nature was great. Yeah, everything about it was it was very solid. It was a solid Pusha T album.
Mhm. Yeah. No notes.
His best.
But next up, I guess we're moving on to number twos. This second place pick for me was literally like post last minute, in that I picked up a single from this album, like off of Discover Weekly or whatever, and I just loved it enough that it managed to stick in for like the final list. And then I went back at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of the month, and like listened to the rest of the album. And this is Breakance. The artist is Breakance. The album is called let's see, it's called Hypochondriac, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. And it is a hyperpop album. I think that is probably the most apt term for it. And it just fucking goes from start to finish in a way that really engaged me. And I wish I had listened to the rest of the album sooner, because pretty much every track, I've saved every track on there. They all sound fucking amazing. Venus Flytrap was the song that I heard first, and like made it into the list for songs of the year. But again, the opener just goes insane, and then I think things kind of cool down a little bit in the latter half, but it still sounds really, really fucking good if you're into that hyperpop noise. And
52 straight minutes of hyperpop.
Yeah,
That would kill King Henry VIII. Like, it would just fucking murder.
Yes,
him.
this is music that would kill a Victorian child, and this is the kind of thing that I listen to now.
The cover is just a Victorian child listening to this album.
Yeah, let me just show this on the screen real quick. We got some fucking I can't even like fully decipher. I assume that is a person. Yeah, it might be a Victorian child, but
looks like there's a mirror that you burned Florida into, and then in that image of Florida is the Victorian child being murdered by listening to 52 minutes of hyperpop.
Oh my god!
I like hyperpop, but
yeah,
like maybe 7 minutes of hyperpop.
Then take it in doses. I mean, to just
piecemeal.
give. I would say if you want to listen to a track, I would give probably Caffeine or Venus Flytrap a listen. But I also have to give a shout out to the follow-up song Teeth. I'm not gonna play it, but I will pull up the lyrics here. He spits a bar.
Is it about that movie?
No. Where is it? Fucking hell, man.
This is.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Hellbent.
Critically acclaimed movie that involves a vagina with teeth. To be
No, it is not a reference to that. It is this shit
sure
is
about that.
This shit is so overwhelming. Mixed self-expression with self-obsession. Hell-bent, but that's something I don't want to tell them. Fighting for my will like the ring is Elden. And I laughed out loud as soon as that bar hit my eardrums. I could not believe.
Is that the main reason why you made Push?
No, the album is legitimately good, but that shit just cracked me up.
The Elden Ring is real.
It just sent me when I heard that line. I was just like, you could put this in a track and make it sound not like hot garbage. I was very sent by that line. But yeah, the whole album fucking goes, and I love it a lot. I guess I like started stepping into the hyperpop genre with who was it? He made a song, or they made a song called Flamboyant. Who was it? Dorian Electra. And since then, like, I've started stepping more, like, hearing more 100 Gex shit, and this is definitely just added into the pile of, like, more hyperpop tunes that I'm
So will
into.
you still open with the same terrible cishet white lines when you realize you're trans?
Yes, that is my trend. That will be if I ever have an eggshell cracking moment, I will still retain that cishet aspect of my persona.
I thought about making a joke similar to it, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna say that, and I'm glad someone else. I've been getting these Bridget slideshows on TikTok all the goddamn time, and I'm happy that somebody else gets to hear this shit for once.
Oh
The
man.
town inside me.
Oh, okay. Not an
Everyone
album
knows.
and not something that came out this year, but I do have to give a shout out to 679 for making my top 10 songs
Like
of the
Betty
year.
Bob?
But yeah, because of all of the Bridget she will never ball, and then the fucking 679 edits coming out with that. That song bangs, and I'm glad that the memes brought it to my attention.
Yeah,
God.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
yeah, it banged in 2014. It bangs now, I guess.
It still do.
14?
Do I
14.
does anyone here, just making sure, is my mic putting in anything? Because speaking of music, somebody in this random ass apartment complex's car is, I don't know, I can't even tell. It's like bass boosted so hard from like multiple cars away, but it's shaking my car. I
We
cannot.
don't-
It's
I
not
don't hear
picking
anything.
up, but that is beautiful. That's a beautiful college apartment living experience.
Bro, I'm not by RIT right now. I'm like in like North Rochester right now.
Oh my god. Yeah, but that was my number 2 pick. I don't know if you guys are into it. That is something I would definitely recommend.
I'll listen to it a little bit.
Yeah, give it a
Yeah,
go.
I'm always
I'm
down to
down.
listen to a little bit of hyperpop.
Yeah. Again,
at-
give it. You could do it in doses
sprinkled-
if that's all you can
sprinkled
take.
into. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I tried to listen to a 100 Gex album front to back, and I think I felt myself transition as the album went through.
I think this
And
is
so I had-
this is more easily digestible than a 100 Gex album. I don't know if that's
I like the
because I'm
100
getting
Gex,
more
though.
used to it, or like if it is actually
I
the
like
case.
some of the
but-
100 gig songs. What the fuck do they know about horses?
Shut the fuck up. All right, that was my number 2 pick. Kobe, what you got?
Yeah, so for my number 2 pick, it is Dawn FM by The Weeknd. Everyone kind of forgot
Fuck
that
you,
this
Kobe.
Everyone kind
I
of
didn't
forgot
forget.
that
I
this
did not
album
forget.
Came out. I guess where to start with this is I'm gonna just highlight the transitions in this fucking album. Oh god, the transitions go so incredibly hard.
You mean Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello,
Jim
neighbor
Carrey
Jim
goes so
Carrey. Do you want to
incredibly
record
hard.
transitions for my funny new album?
But yeah, I think this is one of the best Weekend albums. He's definitely like in terms of the trilogy that he is claiming that he is putting out. It started with what was the last one? After Hours.
After Hours, yeah.
Yeah, and then now it's Dawn FM. It is definitely continuing this storyline that he is trying to tell. And wow, just what an album! Every track on it is just so well done, and I think The Weeknd is at his peak at this point, and I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was mentioning that like I didn't want to tread on people's toes, and I do like the Matt Watson album a lot, but Dawn FM is definitely up there, like neck and neck with my number 3 spot. It just is another one of those vibe albums of like, you know, that retro synth sound that Abel has like really fucking honed in on and makes it sound real good. And I don't know, like I gotta give some props for the spoken word at the end by Jim Carrey. Like, I didn't know Jim Carrey had that in him. I know he didn't probably write it, but like, still, even the execution on it just sounded great.
I'm pretty sure I knew he could talk before, but yeah, I think he did a good job.
Jim Carrey is not a stranger to dramatic delivery. He is a very, very, very good actor. I mean, like, the classic, I feel like the gut response to this is, have you seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Ricky?
I haven't, so maybe I gotta check that out.
That is easily, well, that's probably a few, it's expanded a bit. The list is expanded a bit, but it's also one of my few top 5 music, like 5-star movies of all time. It
Okay.
is an absolutely incredible movie. And it's definitely not an unfunny movie, but like this is Jim Carrey in a more serious role than if you're just expecting the mask.
Dylan out here shilling for Kaufman once again.
Listen, even Ishu will agree that
I still need-
Suicide is a fantastic movie.
You know, I still need to
Even-
see it Eternal, but I
Mm,
just had to get that.
yeah.
Five-star movie.
Anyways.
Anyways.
Yeah, but obviously, you know, Weekend still going hard throughout the whole album, and like I think my standout, which I also put into my like top 10 finds, was Is There Somebody Else? That was a real good one. But they all kind of just have a really nice flow together. Like I that is I don't know. I do a lot of playlist making, and so I don't always listen to just albums straight up. I think the key exceptions in my life are Daft Punk, unfortunately more recently Yay, and now less recently Yay. And then but then like this Dawn FM album is like something that I will probably just put on all the way through almost every time because it just kind of goes from start to finish.
This is
100%.
one album that I definitely feel needs to be listened to front to back. Like, for me at least, it is very hard to pull a singular song out of Dawn FM and just listen to it by itself. Just because the entire package that is presented is it just flow, like you said, just flows so naturally that you're missing a lot of the experience by just listening to singular songs.
Yeah.
I have listened to Dawn FM. I have 542 Scrabbles out of the entire year of 2022.
I forgot about the
Um,
Scrabbles. Oh man.
I've listened to that album so much. It's very good.
It's a very,
I
very good
I
album.
I also I think Dawn FM's a great album and all, but I also think that like part of what you're describing is also maybe part of the reason like I'm not like I like that album and I think it's a great album and it usually probably makes the top 10 list at least. But like I think one of the things that I'm like it definitely has like a very consistent flow to it, but I feel like it's some of the songs are I don't know they're borderline a little samey to me. It sometimes that like a few of the songs are a little interchangeable in my head.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some fucking incredible standout tracks on that album. God.
Yeah.
That Lil Wayne feature is so good.
Lil Wayne popped off in 2022 with features.
Agree to
Or
disagree.
is Berkey gonna try to undercut?
I
us and
don't
say
know
Lil
enough
Wayne is
about
part
Little.
of
I'm not stepping into this ring. I know you guys are gonna dunk on me, and I do not know enough about Little Wayne, so I'm just going to shut up. But I did not think that the Little Wayne verse was that good.
My number one album of the year for 2022 has one of my favorite Lil Wayne verses in recent memory.
All right. Well, before we get to that, Dylan, what was your secondary pick for albums of the year?
No, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to like probably a runner up real quick, just because like if it wasn't for me really wanting to push someone else, so also honorable mention to the Forever Story by Jid, because it's one of the most technically sound albums I've ever heard in my life, and like I'd be like I'd like I'd almost call Jid a prodigy if he hasn't been in this shit for so long. Honestly,
Well,
it's just an incredible album. But I won't talk about it that much.
Third?
I'm gonna go with fucking Melt My Eyes to Your Future
all
by
right.
Denzel.
Yeah.
Just because I also love Denzel so much. I mean, what do I have to say? It's like this shift in production style was like super good. I love that like he went for this kind of like 80s throwback. There's a whole lot of like Japanese cinema references in the titles and the lyrics. All with a very very honest place of just like love for that shit, like growing up with like that shit. The themes on the album are good. I have to talk though between this and Mr. Morales. Just like let's not forget. I just have to bring up very lightly. There's a weird thing about cancel culture on both these albums. That we'll get to that in a bit, but like, Melt My Eyes has so much. Ironically enough, the lead single from this album, like the second song, Walkin', that was actually the reason I like kind of stayed away from this album a while and didn't like give it a shot because like I love Denzel and I was like, oh, this is like a cool idea, but like it's like the only song on the album that I honestly am not a fan of, and
What?
it's just because like no, I'm serious, and it's just because really the first part of that song is like so off kilter in an unenjoyable way to me, like his flow on the track is it's just like really, really disjointed, and it's really like it's like it's like not in time almost, and not in a way that like feels meaningful. It's just like it just doesn't like sound good. And then like the second part of the song is like, okay, this like fits like a little more as like a like this fits him a little more, but like
Something was off.
like the whole I can't listen. I don't like listening to this song as a whole.
I
Mm.
disagree. I think the cadence of the first part of Walkin' just it's like a walk. It's like he's walking through the beat. Like the beat's happening and he's kind of riding through it. I really like the first part of Walkin'. I think better than the second half. I like it a lot more.
Mm.
Uh, I don't like this album that much.
Mm.
Really?
Really?
I
Really?
I don't I I I was really excited to hear a Denzel Curry album, and when this came out, I heard it like I think I listened through like 7 times. I was trying to hear something that I really wanted to hear, and I'm going through the album and like looking through the ones that I really enjoyed. The
Mhm.
first half of the album, I just did not like. Like,
Mm.
I didn't like all the way like Melt Session 1. I thought Walkin' was really good for the first part of the album. Then like Worst Comes to Worst, John Wayne, The Last, Mental. Those all kind of felt like super drags to me, and I didn't enjoy the tracks at all. But then like for the second half of the album, I really enjoy it. Like we're getting into like Troubles with T-Pain, Ain't No Way with the giant cast that he has there with Rico Nasty and JID. X-Wing is fantastic. I think X-Wing is the best song on the album, like hands down. It's fantastic.
Actually, it was
Um,
awesome for sure.
the Sanjuro with 454, and then Zatoichi.
Zatoichi, yeah.
I love Slow Tie, and anytime I hear Slow Tie in a is Slow Tie mixed with any kind of American artist, it always sounds great together. But I didn't think
Zatoichi is so fucking good. Yeah, I also just like love slow tie in general, but he's also one of those like I feel like this has got to be a slow tie. He was like, "Let me do this." When he puts in a fucking like breakcore,
Mhm.
amen break ass drum and bass sample for his singing parts, like just him, and it's like you think it's like kind of maybe objectively, yeah, you could describe it as jarring, but it's like so good in the song.
It just
I think
works.
that rocks.
I
Yeah,
wish I
and I
liked this
also
album more.
I agree that I think the second half of the album is better than the first.
Mm.
Um, but like it's it's just got like I think I just really loved Denzel branching out into this different kind of sound instead of just like the kind of Florida trap he's kind of known for. But
Hey, I don't know that he's like he hasn't done a lot of Florida trap. Like Taboo is very different. Like the only one that was like more Florida trap was like Zoo, and I thought Zoo is fantastic.
I
I
think
was really
there's
happy with Zoo.
I think there are a lot of trap influences like that like are all over Taboo, even if they're not like as obviously just like trap songs. It's like Zoo is like Zoo is very much just like a like that kind of album, but like Taboo, I think still like carries a lot of that influence throughout
Mhm.
a lot of the songs, even the ones that don't like quite follow maybe like a easy formula. Um,
Okay.
even this album still has beats that are like influenced, I think, by Zell Zell's like Florida trap background. It's just like
Swing, X-Wing definitely.
yeah.
All right.
Um,
Uh,
also,
just want to try
yeah,
to keep things moving here a little bit because we still need
yeah,
to do another
that's
round.
true.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. All right. That's your secondary pick, and then Mark, what you got for number 2?
This one was it slid in near the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Heroes and Villains by Metro Boomin. This
Mm.
man, this man, Metro Boomin, put out a crazy. This album is crazy. Um,
It
for
has
my top
everything.
3, I did not choose ones where I was like, I'm worried about stepping on you guys' top 3. I genuinely think this is my top 3 albums of the year, besides Dawn FM. Dawn FM was one that I would have put up here, but Heroes and Villains, it's fucking amazing. This man, Metro Boomin, every time he puts out an album, it is perfectly produced. Like there's no skips on Heroes and Villains at all. And I think that like even just looking at the plays, like the plays show it. This is a tight album. This album is really tight. The greatest transition of the year from Metro Spider with Young Thug into I Can't Save You with Future. Just the like that transition is beautiful. Creepin has a weekend transposition.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it? Don't want to know. Is that it's either I don't want to know or don't want to know. It's a really fun transposition. You got 21 Savage all over this album, which he's been by far my favorite artist of 2022. He's just he did amazing. Like Metro Boomin he kept it tight with his features. I think maybe like one could have been left off. You could have left off Chris Brown, and I would have been happy.
Yeah, there was something. I'm surprised by the play count on Superhero. I was not. That was like I went through it this week, and I don't know. I just wasn't vibing with Superhero. But the back end of
you gotta hear the Homelander. That's the thing. Is
that part I was like, wait, is this? Wait, is that in the intro or is that in Superhero?
It is at the end of On Time.
Okay, it is at the end of On Time
that transitions into Superhero.
Gotcha. Yeah, because at the end of On Time, I was just like, wait. What? No, this isn't. Oh my god, it is. That's fucking insane. Oh, I need to pull it back in.
Like the first time I heard that, it was
Good lord. Yeah.
Am I sounding low on the microphone, by the way, at all?
No, you're sounding good.
It's not good.
So yeah, Heroes and Villains, definitely a sleeper hit at the end of the year that I didn't expect to be one of my most played albums. Like I think being at the end of the year when it comes to Spotify Wrapped, it wasn't enough time. Like
it never is.
This has been my go-to gym album since it's been out. I think I've listened to Heroes and Villains around 27 times now. Just kind of listening to the whole thing during the gym. What a fucking album this was. Just everything. I echo everything Mark says, but oh my god. I think the first time I listened to this and I heard Homelander at the end and with the I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. And now that's been memed to ever hell and people just putting some really funny monologues over it. But yeah, this album just completely popped off. And this album does not need to be as good as it is. Like that's my thing is it did not deserve to be this good. And it just, The Weeknd wasn't kidding when he said like the day before on Twitter, you guys aren't ready for this. Like we weren't ready for Heroes and Villains.
Yeah. Banger tracks throughout.
Spectacular.
We still gotta keep making music with Chris Brown on it.
We don't. We really don't. People could just choose to stop doing that. You know, it's amazing, and the power of the human will is what is capable of, or apparently incapable of in some cases.
How's he good?
Is he good enough? Is he good enough to justify it? Yeah. Another banger album at Mark's number 2 spot, and now we're making it into the number ones. For me, this is definitely the most, I guess, different from everything else that we're probably going to be talking about today. I've heard of Coheed and Cambria before. They had that one song in that fucking movie with the dolls called Nine, called Coming Home, and I was like, yeah, this sounds really good. I'm a big fan of these sort of theatrical rock ballads or whatever. And then I forgot about them and I didn't pay attention to them for years. And then this album started releasing singles and they started getting recommended to me. And I was like, wait a minute, I love all of these. And then the full album came out and the same thing happened again, where I just kept listening to the thing all the way through. And if I'm being completely honest, it honestly is pretty tight between Hypochondriac and Vaxis 2 as far as like if Hypochondriac had more time in my mind, it might have overtaken this album, but like I'm still coming back to Vaxis 2 at the end of the day. It's just like a ton of fun to listen to for me. With like there's just this massive scale in the vibe to it. It's all part, and like every album that Kohi does is apparently also tied to like this comic book series with like the lead singer's original characters or something. And so, like, they're telling a story in it, and I don't know what the fuck's going on in regards to that, but, like, the music still sounds good to me. My pick from it that I thought was, like, the most standout was Comatose, which was one of their singles, but it still just held on when the whole album came out. Badman, Liar's Game, I think it's called. Double check that. Were also standouts. Vaxis 2 and Wind Into the Waking Mind is the full name of the album. Beautiful Losers. Love Murder 1 was also very close to taking my pick. But it's all just got this very larger than life sound to it. I don't know. I don't know if I would call it operatics necessarily, but very theatrical rock ballads that are just a blast to listen to and get me in like. I don't know. They probably, if I was regularly updating my like gamer playlist that I play when I was doing Ranked League back in 2016 or whatever, these songs would definitely be going on it. And I love it. So that was my album of the year. Just a very good time, very fun time with them, with Coheed.
I just think that's kind of funny. I don't know. The idea of like Coheed and Cambria got me to Silver is just like kind of funny to me because like, just, like weirdly enough. The reason I got into Sylvanessa in the first place was because I had initially heard some weird like some remix that is not some remix of a song they had on one of their first albums, and it was in a TF2 like jump map compilation. I don't know if you know what those are. It's like jumping maps.
I could figure what they might be.
Those. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. And then I heard the original, and that was good. And then I proceeded I don't remember if it was just that song or that whole album that I listened to on repeat while I was doing the major boss fight for the Dark Souls 1 DLC fight, Artorias. Yeah, Knight Artorias.
Yes.
I listened to that for like hours. That is that is what I got into Sylvanessa. So.
Oh my god. So it was a remix of a Coheed song with Sylvanessa?
No. Sorry, just like the idea of like.
Oh yeah, okay.
Grind shit. I was like,
yeah, it's just like a blood pumping series of songs. That's just the typical criteria.
There's no way I could really justify to you why Sylvanessa would be the correct music to listen to in that circumstance. I don't think it necessarily is. My brain is just all fucked up.
Listen, whatever gets you through those fucking piece of shit bosses, it's what it takes. So, yeah, very highly recommend. It's just something to get your blood boiling. You know, I think maybe that could also work in a gym context if I was going to the gym regularly with headphones on. But yeah. Number one for me, Kobe, and this is also, I think Dylan's number one.
This is a Dylan.
Do you want to go with Mark first, then?
Yeah, we should probably go with Mark because.
Okay, yeah. I mean, but Mark's number one pick also combined with what you were mentioning for your honorable mention. Mark, what was your number one pick?
Yeah, my number one pick was the Forever Story. It was very close between Metro Boomin and the Forever Story, but the Forever Story is just a fantastic album. I was super excited to hear this come out. And when it came out, it's all the way through just a really nice album. You get to hear a lot of introspective tracks with also a lot of bangers, and it's just like lyrically, GID is probably it's got to be like top 3 out right now. He's great. His flows are amazing. The way he puts tracks together is amazing, and just Dreamville has a star in JID, and
Dude.
I'm very excited to hear more as we go forward.
Dude, it's crazy. No, it's like my instinct is to be like, he's a prodigy, he's gifted, but the man's like 32 years old. He's been
Yeah, he's 31 or
doing this shit.
32.
He's been
It
doing this
is
shit
very
for
crazy.
like how long? Like he's like a quote freshman from like 4 years ago or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
like, dude has been doing this shit. He is, he's he's immaculate. I swear to
Yeah,
God, his
great.
lyrics are so fucking tight every
I-
single time.
This album, he is at the top of his game. No doubt about it. Like just compared to some of his other works, like the Forever Story it's something else. Like Mark and I are going to see him in concert, and I'm very excited to see what he does with it in live. Just one of my most like impressive albums of the year. It was definitely like a top 4 for me this year. Just I'm gonna echo what they said. Like he's a lyrical genius at this point, and I like that Dreamville has him. They're giving him the tools and the resources that he needs in order to produce these more ambitious albums. Like realistically, I think Forever Story was ambitious, and it paid off in the end. It was a very well done album, and there's not one song that can be removed. There's no downtime. There's no fat. Like it just goes and it doesn't stop. And he utilizes every minute on that album very well. And
Just in Time has the best Lil Wayne verse.
oh,
Best Lil
well,
Wayne verse
yeah.
of the year. It's great.
So like, just every single aspect of that album is, it is almost a near perfect album. Like I don't know what could make it better at this point. So
Yeah. I did get a chance to listen to it. I didn't save that many songs off of it, but I also that was the morning after I got like 4.5 hours of sleep because I'm a fucking idiot. So I was kind of delirious when I was listening through that album and like falling asleep just of my own injuries. So I might need to give it another go. But I remember looking over and seeing Crack Sandwich as the title of the song that was about to start playing. I was just like, huh? And then it was pretty good.
What a good fucking song. I mean, you can say that about every single song on that album, but like, Crack Sandwich is one that sticks for me.
Mm-hmm.
Crack Sandwich, Cody Blue 31.
Yep.
Cody Blue
Another
31,
saved.
Burden in them with Lil Durk.
Yep. Another
It's
saved
just
one.
all great.
But yeah, I guess without further ado, let's get to the double number 1 spot. I mean, and I think this was also very high up for me and probably for Mark as well. For it was just a very fucking good album. I don't know, but yeah, do you guys want to talk about your number 1 picks?
yeah, I guess.
What is there to say once again about Kendrick fucking Lamar and Mr. Dr. Morales and the Big Feet? Like,
What a fucking album.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
like,
pretty fucking goated.
It's separated into 2 LPs just for people to know. The first half is the Big Steppers. The second half is Mr. Morale. First half, much more toxic than the second half. So
it's like, I mean, just I think one of the things that makes me happiest about this album is after Kendrick's albums, and Kendrick albums have always, had a running, obviously theme. I mean, their albums, they tend to have running themes in general, but like Kendrick usually uses the whole album to make a point about something, right?
Yeah.
Like paint a picture, tell a story. That's like definitely Good Kid, obviously. Obviously fucking To Pimp a Butterfly, even Section 80. But like Damn was one of the first ones where it was like less strong on that front, I guess. Like like we're coming from Damn, which feels crazy to me, right? Like how long ago was that? Honestly,
That was like 26, 17.
He says the exact amount of days in United in Grief. It's like, wow, so much of days.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like that was the last. That's like fucking forever ago. And like that album, I don't know. Damn is like the album I probably come back to the least.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I think really felt good about Mr. Morale was like there was a very, clear story and theme being told here, and I thought it was again one of those really lovely personal moments for Kendrick. Like it's just like it's a story that meant a lot, I thought, and like all these songs, and again, it's like I mentioned this when talking about Sylvanessa, but I think it's difficult, or it's much easier to make an album that's about the ideas of like love and acceptance that are kind of patronizing or bubbly in ways that can be very annoying.
Mhm.
And like Mr. Morale is about that, but in a very it's a very raw way, and I think that's I
Yeah.
just it's a really powerful album, I
I
think.
like fucking. I mean, I was talking about this with you when you were here, Dylan. But like, I had "We Cry Together" on my list of like potential top 10 songs after swapping "Father Time" out for a Sampha song, which did end up making the cut. But like, "We Cry Together" is just a thing that I have never heard, like that type of, that like you're telling a story, and like in a way that is both so raw but still so it has this musicality to it. Like even when they are just shouting at each other, like it just fucking it still works as like a flow. It's definitely Scare the Hose music, but I don't know, it's just done so well that I was just like, this is, I can't deny how fucking like well put together this is. And like there's stuff like that all over the album. Obviously, I think Auntie Time is like another one that a lot of people have talked about on release, and there's probably not much we can add here, but
I think
like,
you said
We
Auntie
can.
Time, and I
It's
don't know if you
Auntie
mean Father
Diaries.
Time or
oh sorry, Auntie
Father Time or
Diaries.
Auntie Diaries.
Yes, sorry, I was mixing the two. Yeah, the names up, but Auntie Diaries. Yeah, and then Father Time again was also very good in that regard of like talking
I want
about
to shout out Savior Interlude, just a
Mm.
Baby Keem track. So good.
I don't think I like Baby Keem.
I-
I don't know.
Another horrendous take.
I'm not a fan of his voice. I'm sorry.
I mean,
got
this was like one of the first. This Baby Keem on this album was one of the first times I really listened to Baby Keem and was like, okay, he doesn't just sound like that all the time, which is
I
like, uh,
I have a different opinion than all of you on this album.
Mm.
I don't like it that much.
Oh.
no.
I think I like this album less than all of his other albums.
Less than Dan.
Well, no,
Interesting.
maybe not less than oh shit. What's the
Are you counting
album?
the
I forgot.
mixtape?
Huh?
Are you counting the mixtape?
Yeah, the
Like,
I like it
uh,
less than I'm scrolling right now. I like it more than Section 80, but less than every other album or EP that he's put out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really interesting.
oh.
I think that the underlying tones of kind of the way that he talks through this album is I don't know, like he's like we don't deserve to be in the space that he's talking about like in because he's talking about a lot of big stuff and he's like we're like fans of his, like we listen to him, like we're the people that like kind of support him throughout a lot of this stuff. And I kind of I don't know, it was kind of just I got a vibe from it where it was like we don't deserve to be here, or we don't deserve to criticize him, and we
Wait.
don't deserve
Wait.
to that kind of
Are you you're,
the
you're
cancel.
Jesse Pinkman at the table drinking the water while Walt and Skyler look at each other?
Well, it just I don't know, like the all the cancel culture stuff that
The
he
cancel culture thing is the
stuff
weird.
that
That's
he
something I have to bring up.
I
Mhm.
just I don't know, like I think that besides that, I think that the album isn't as well put together as his other albums. I think that it kind of it tells a story, but it doesn't tell it that well. I don't think. Like I think that there's just a lot of different topics that maybe aren't put together as well as I would like them to be. Or
Do you think that one disc is better than the other, more put together, that you prefer more, or do you think both of them have like significant flaws in them?
see this is a problem because I'm gonna say I do like the second disc a little bit more.
Mhm.
Because well, but the first disc I think um I don't know. I think the second disc has more of the songs that I really like on this album, but I just don't think that this album would come anywhere close to the caliber of some of the other albums that we've put 1, 2, and 3. I like it's like it's top 10. Like let's not fuck around. Like this is Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar does like put out at a level that is he's kind of
At the top of his
he's gonna
game.
be he's gonna be like on the Mount Rushmore and it's not even close. But I just don't see what everyone else sees in this album, and I don't know.
So I hear what you're saying and I understand, but my point of view is the way that this album is structured is this whole album is about his mental health crisis. Like in the end, it's about him coming to terms with his shittiness and going to therapy. That is the storyline that he's telling. And I think the first disc and also the music videos paired very well with it is he is just kind of telling us all the problems he's had. It's basically we're almost a therapist at that point. In the
Mm.
first half is we are listening to his issues. We are listening to why he feels he is a shitty person and the things that haunt him. Especially you see that a lot in We Cried Together
Yeah.
as Kendrick has been very vocal and forward about his toxicity within relationships and how he just like he can't settle down, like he needs to keep moving, and that is a theme that is present. And there's a lot of other themes that are present, especially within N95, and he talks about the cancel culture and just some of the other things that he presents there. And then once Mr. Morale hits in the second half, it the way I look at it, it is the conclusion of the therapy sessions, and it's him realizing all of these shitty behaviors and the kind of the things that he took to kind of fix them. And I think in terms of like character development for Kendrick, like Auntie Diaries is one of the biggest like tracks on that second half where he's like, I understand like this is like the way of life and I am kind of coming off of my toxicity. So that's the way I took it. Is it first half is us being the therapist listening to his issues, whereas the second half is him going out into the world and using what he learned to kind of fix himself and present a new version of himself.
Yeah. So it's the pre therapy and the post therapy. We did not
Yeah.
witness the therapy session, but when whoever was on the track with was it in We Cry Together, whatever the last track of the first disc was, like saying you gotta reach out to the doctor here, and then they go into therapy and then they come back out, and then that's the second disc.
And like I said, with the music videos, it's like the N95 music video kind of shows his more like chaotic, toxic nature, and especially the We Cry Together video. If you've seen that, like that is a very toxic video. Whereas if you watch the video for Count Me Out, it is him in therapy, just talking with the therapist. Like they don't even really do the music in that video. It is just him being in therapy, talking about stuff. Like so that's where like I think it all comes together into this grand story that he is trying to tell.
Mm. Yeah.
So, I'll start with just like some of the criticisms, I guess, to start off, just because I don't have too many. Um, One of them is I do think the weird kind of fixation on Eckhart Tolle during this album is like I guess it was important to Kendrick, like him specifically, and maybe that was literally I forget if that was like literally what his fiance had like given to him, like a book by him or
Mm.
whatever. The kind of constant fixation of him, I just think it's a little weird to like constantly be like, you have to see Eckhart. Oh, what did Eckhart say? Or like referencing his books. It's just like a little too similar to what like This has happened to me, and I don't know if it's happened before. I think I mentioned it before, but I've like gotten songs on my Discover Weekly on Spotify that like kind of are good, and then suddenly out of fucking nowhere, there's a Jordan Peterson like spiel in them, and it's like, what
Yeah.
the fuck,
No,
dude?
yeah. There's a lot of
How did we
tracks
get
like that
here?
on Spotify. There's like a
Not that
whole.
like Kendrick does this, but like it's just a little. I fixations on like specific people like that are kind of weird, and
I
like
weep for the
in a sense,
children.
in a sense, like, and I also kind of get Mark's. Well, I'll come back in a second. The other weird thing is the bit on cancel culture here. There's also a little bit of that on Melt My Eyes too. Uh, Kendrick mentions it twice here, and I think what's really ironic about how he mentions cancel culture and like how he's like like in both artists like do this thing where it's like cancel culture is ridiculous. You gotta like watch what you say. But the weird thing about like Kendrick and like that kind of like started putting me off on the album. But like like the end of Mr. Morale, and especially like a song like Auntie Diaries, right? Is a song about like realizing when you're wrong and like growing from it and trying to not make the same mistakes and like understanding being understanding. And like I don't really get how you could have this perspective on, oh yeah, I can like actually grow forward from this and be a good person, which is kind of like again, like the whole point of the album. And then still be like all like hopped up about cancel culture because it's like I don't like it's like this it's like perpetuating this like weird idea that like cancel culture is this like like this huge hammer that completely like destroys you
Eradicates.
forever having
Yeah.
made a mistake and like disallows you and maybe that's like what Kendrick is trying to say, that like he believes this and that like it prevents people from growing, but I think that's just like it's a really not it's like it's just like another example of people, you know, making like cancel culture and a variety of like I feel like buzzwords like that into like this monolithic terrible internet thing, I
Mm.
guess. Which is like maybe listen, I don't think you explicitly mentioned this. Maybe it's good that you go for months without phones at a time or whatever, Kendrick, because maybe you're a little too online if you really are up on this shit.
Mhm.
Um anyways, um, yeah, so
I think the Kodak thing also is a part of that,
yeah.
where that's co- you have an album where you talk about growth as a person, and the part where he throws away cancel culture as the thing that can keep people responsible, like kind of it keeps people responsible for the things that they've done in the past, and like doesn't let them kind of just like get away with doing things like that and being like, oh, I'm a better person now, so we're not going to talk about it. And then you put Kodak Black onto the album, like it just it rubs me the wrong way with that, like because like I'm not gonna say like I don't listen to Kodak Black, like I like listening to Kodak, I do like listening to Kodak Black. What I'm saying is you can't say we need to grow to become a better person and then not and then
Put on a guy that hasn't grown.
he hasn't done anything to change, and he doesn't, I mean,
So you're saying it's very just contradictory.
it's just stupid. I just think like it's just weird. He's just like
It's just dumb.
No, it's I agree. And what's also kind of boggling is the fact like Kodak's on this album, and like how much of this album is like it's not like okay, it's not like actually a major part of the album, but it was a major part of the Heart Part 5 and at least one or two songs on the album where it's, you know, there's a bit of in memoriam to Nips on both like on Nipsey Hussle. Wow, I can't. Sorry, don't call him Nips, by the way.
Who is
Nipsey
this?
Hussle, both on this album and a bit actually. Denzel does it a little bit on his album too, but like, like I get again like part of the album's messaging on Mr. Morale is like, and he comes to this conclusion on I think a really beautiful poetic way where he's like, okay, like there are these like flaws that I see within myself and they're preventing me, and like there's these things that I need to grow from, and if I ever want to like truly feel like I am accepted and that I'm being, the right person to the right people, part of that is like understanding that even like that other people who made these mistakes deserve this kind of like this kind of
Empathy.
this kind of like openness towards interpretation as well, or whatever. It's not the
Yeah.
best way to describe it, but like, and like I could maybe I feel like there are just better options than like Kodak Black, especially because like with the Nipsey Hussle stuff, and like Kodak Black's like I'm pretty sure it was Kodak Black where it was like Nipsey died, and then in like a month it was like, oh yeah, London, like Nipsey's fiance is like, yeah, y'all ready? I'll just date you right now. Now Nipsey's gone. It was like he was
Yeah,
being comically
he did that.
disrespectful to her.
That
It
was
was like
was crazy. I thought that everybody just let him go for that too. That was funny. Not funny, but you know what I mean.
Trump let him go.
Fucked up. Oh
Yeah.
God. I'm not caught up on. I've heard that Donald Trump like pardoned Kodak Black, but I did not know what it was about. What is this?
I mean,
is it-
it wasn't about. I think this is not. I don't think the right space to be like
yeah,
why did Donald Trump did things he did. But I mean, it was the end of his term, and like that's like the classic like end of my term.
He
Fucking
he
pardon
wanted
a bunch of
Kodak to
people.
have a new album.
Lord.
I still I recognize like some of the flaws that Mr. Morale has, but god damn, is it still not a beautiful album to me? Like it's just I think it's well produced, the tracks, the beats, just everything put into it is it. I can't take away just from the sheer production value and
Yeah.
how just good it is.
So many of the songs and the song topics are just really awesome and incredible, and like I so I don't feel like it's right to be like we don't deserve, or like we're like in a place where we shouldn't be listening. Like this is some like private struggle that like we really shouldn't be like listening into, because like I mean the whole like it's a real generally positive thing to share your experiences, especially if you're an artist who's undergoing growth, right? Like what better way do you have to kind of like make a statement on like what like growth and becoming a better person than making music about it? And
Mhm.
then Kendrick is the one who has been through this, right? And not only Kendrick, and Kendrick's fiance as well. And given by Kendrick's fiance is, I wish I could remember her name right now. I can't, but given by her presence on like the album cover with their kids and like agreeing to this and assuming assuming that it was everyone
Everything was
consenting
good.
to do
Everything was
this,
kosher. Yeah.
consenting to do this. That's like I feel like I don't think that we should feel like we shouldn't be here. I think we're being invited to like understand the struggles that Kendrick's been having, and
Mhm.
that his fiance's been having, and their perspectives, and how people have been hurt, and how he's growing, and I think that's a good thing in
I
general.
feel not invited to be there if the entire time he's criticizing the people who like would try to think critically about the things that he's done. And
I
he doesn't invite people to.
Be
He's like,
critical.
you could be here to listen to it, but I know that I'm doing the right thing, and that like basically cancel culture is stupid.
I like I definitely see what you're saying, and I think it's maybe just all the more weird in a sense, because I feel like at the end of this album, he's very much like, I'm flawed. I'm not your savior. I'm like an incredibly, human figure, despite like what I've like this persona that has been generated kind of by my own action, definitely by his own actions and his fans. And
Mhm.
he's like, I I am not I'm not this person who you think I am, and like I'm still not perfect myself, like don't have the answers. I think it is like all the weirder that he comes to these I think I agree with you. This album is like infuriating in a sense because like he comes to all these like I think the right conclusions about himself and what it means to be human and valuable and like growing from that, and he backs it up with with amazing songs about about like the history of like issues with like father figures, relationship toxicity, sexual abuse, and among and like transphobia. Like all these songs, like in a vacuum, I think are awesome, and they serve to like they serve this they serve this point really well about making mistakes, growing from them, fallibility, all of this stuff. And then like there for some reason there are just like these, not even like the whole tracks, just like a couple lines on some tracks that like fly in the face of that so weirdly, and like of course that feature, and it's like infuriating in that kind of sense. But there's like the fact that the rest of the album is like so like on point. I can't like ignore that. It's
Yeah,
really
I think
weird.
so that kind of stuff makes it so that it can't be my number one album of the year, especially when there's a lot of other albums that um are more kind of concise in
Yeah.
their reasoning for the album as well as just sounding sonically better. Like
Yeah.
I think maybe that this album is a little bit tried to be more substance over or like meaning over um production, and
Mm,
I think that this album wasn't up to the level of production that some of his other albums have been.
gotcha.
I think
Yeah.
that like maybe the production quality isn't like as crazy like good as something like fucking like obviously like T-Tab or whatever. Like, but I think it's still honestly I really like the production on this album. I really remember liking it. I again I not to keep like shitting on Damn or whatever, but I definitely liked it more than Damn. Oh.
All of my top 3 albums are very well. I think like production means a lot more to me
Mm,
than a decent amount of things, and I think that um
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only other thing I wanted to throw out for Mr. Morale was I don't know. We were talking earlier about how some albums just have like they kind of all flow together, like Dawn FM, and like how that could be perceived as a possible like negative if you can't point out songs. I don't think there's. I would say there's some benefit to having like such a set personality to an album that it all kind of works together. But like I will say, this album both has the overarching themes to it that we've already discussed in detail. But like I would say this is a thing where I know these tracks specifically. Like I know Father Time different from Auntie Diary, different from We Cry Together, different from N95, different from they are all very distinct tracks, and like they all stand out in their own ways because they're all tackling specific issues that are also still they combine into this overarching how this affects one person's life or how it could affect any person's life. But the criticism is I haven't listened to it as closely as you guys have, so those parts were kind of lost on me. But those are interesting counterpoints to bring up, and I don't know. There's been like I don't want to keep bringing this shit back around to Kanye, but like there have apparently been hints about this anti-Semitism stuff for like a while, but like they weren't really high key, so people just didn't really pay attention to them that much. And like I hope that's not the case with Kendrick, that there's not some weird anti-cancel culture fetish that is brewing in his mind. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Kendrick Lamar is Dave Chappelle.
Oh god. That's the thing I was scared of. Like,
yeah,
man,
no, that's worrisome.
I the first 2 songs I hear that track and it's like, where is this going? Both this
Where you at, bud? Where you at?
where's this going? Where are you going with this?
How do you feel about
Please.
building affordable housing?
Oh no!
I will say, what a great year for music. I think 2022 was it had a lot of just solid albums that came out.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think one of the most memorable years for music in quite some time. Like, I think there was just consistent albums that I felt connected to, and I'm like, wow, this is definitely going somewhere into my daily listens. I don't know where yet, but like, I keep revisiting like a lot of the albums that came out from last year.
Metro motherfucking booming.
And I'm curious to see how this year stacks up, and
Yeah.
really like who is going to bring
We already got
the
album of the
tracks
year.
forward.
We got album of the year already. You know what it is? Everyone should know what it is. If you haven't listened to that Ice Spice album, where you at?
I don't. Okay, I'll have to give it a listen. I'll have to add it to the list. I've not heard of that.
You got to
one
hit her
before.
track, Princess Diana. She is the Princess Diana of our generation.
What are you? I don't. What? I'm a little worried
Missy
with
Elliott
that.
from the Bronx.
Oh God. All right. Yeah, we're plenty over on time, so I won't keep us for that much
Sure.
longer. But I do have to give a shout out. There was some playlists that I've made over the course of my many years on Spotify for just like general vibes or whatever. And more than anything, this was the year of the gear for me. I made a playlist called "Guilty My Gear Until I Strive," which is just a bunch of music from the hit game series Guilty Gear, directed by Daisuke Ishihara. I need to double check his last name, but Guilty Gear music in that same vein of like getting your blood pumping, and every single track fucking goes in its own way. And my number one song from last year on my Spotify Wrapped was Heavy Day, and I think I literally spent like 2+ hours at work just playing that one song on repeat. I don't know.
Songs to put the town inside.
Have
you
I
to.
told you that Heavy Day is basically just a Nickelback song?
Yes, you have told me that, and at this point I don't care. I love it too much. It's in my top 10 list. I love that shit so much.
Daisuke.
But yeah, Daisuke doesn't miss. Daisuke never misses. I don't know. And if you guys, I was just gonna open up if you guys have any albums or playlists that you've made that you were listening to on repeat, or just found that you've been listening to for vibes.
Playlists. I mean, I've been for like years now. Part of the thing that's been destroying my music capacity is me going through like my fucking all my liked songs and trying to organize them in the playlist, which is really, man.
I mean, Spotify does that for you now. They've got like genres that you can like.
It needs that personal touch.
Yeah,
it needs that personal
I got you.
understanding. Anyways, but like, I just want to shout out. I also got to shout out SZA for dropping her album this year. Pretty goddamn solid. And I wish she were more toxic on this album. I wish she was even more toxic.
SZA Brent Faiyaz collab album.
Yeah, but
it'd be dripping with toxicity. I mean, like making for me, I make a lot of playlists. I make a lot. One of my favorite from this from the stuff that I've done is my best of, where I go through an artist's entire discography and all of their features as well, and I put them into a playlist of my favorite. And so I think the one I listened to the most was Best of Jid this year.
You were on that Jid beat for 2022.
I've been listening for going on 3 years now, and I'm a big fan. So
yeah, good shit. You got anything, Kobe? Or
I mainly listen. I like Rap Caviar a lot. Rap Caviar has been my go-to just to kind of hear what new tracks are coming out. So that's pretty much it. And I just listen to whatever Mark puts out in terms of playlists. I don't make my playlist. I know if I try to, I'm gonna get way too deep into it, and I'm gonna invest a lot of time, and I don't want to do that. So
yeah. I mean, listen, it's always topping the front page of Spotify for a reason. They know how to curate. They got some people that they are paying to curate the best of the best for rap. So
Yeah, and they'll leave Drake song on there for like 6 months until another Drake album comes out.
Listen, they can't. All right, maybe they can't always be winners, but they're mostly winners. So yeah, that's 2022 for us wrapped up, and I guess we'll see if we'll be back here again in the beginning of the following year for covering what's gone down in 2023. But until that happens, thank you all so much for joining me, and thank you all for watching. Stay safe out there, and peace out.